In this corner and in this corner.
Both President Obama and Rush Limbaugh were talking vitriol today. So who has the most when it comes to talking about the other party? Here for the class Democratic strategist, pollster Anna Greenberg, Senior Vice President of Greenberg, Quinlan Rossner, along with Republican strategist and former Republican National Committee Online Communications Director, Liz Mair, Vice President of Hynes Strategies. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
I'll get to Rush versus the President in a minute, but I want to show a remarkable moment and get your thoughts. The President was on the road today in North Carolina. It was an economic speech, but it was a town hall style setting, and so he decided to take questions. So perhaps no surprise, one of the questions was about health care, and while North Carolina voted for Obama last time, it's a relatively conservative state. Here's the question.
My question is, though, in the economy times that we have now, is it a wise decision to add more taxes to us with the health care? Because we are overtaxed as it is.
Well, let's talk about that. You know, because this is an area where there's been just a whole lot of misinformation. And I'm going to have to work hard over the next several months to clean up a lot of the misapprehensions.
Can we stop the tape? Can we stop the tape there? The reason I stopped the tape is I'd have to serve you breakfast if we kept going on. Here's the President's answer. If you look at the paper, the White House transcript, the President's answer starts there. It goes through this page. It goes through this page. Goes through this page, and this page, and this page. 17 minutes and 18 seconds to answer that woman's questions. And a little sensitivity among the Democrats on this issue?
Well, certainly I wouldn't advise that Democrats answer with 17 minutes. I think we need a short answer that helps us sort of clarify the truth about this bill. But I'm also struck by the fact that if this had been a George Bush town hall, you would not have gotten a question that was negative about this health care bill. So it's a change in times here.
Obviously, Republicans have succeeded in at least raising questions. Is this the right approach for the President to be out there taking them one-on-one from people?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I think any time that you're giving a 17-minute answer to something, I mean, what's the old saying? If you're explaining, you're losing. I mean, I think in this situation, you know, he's already in a jam when it comes to this health care bill. People are really angry about it, and it's not sort of 20% of the population. It's a pretty good chunk of people. You know, it's a large percentage. And, you know, he's out there having to explain something over and over and over again when it should probably be presented as fait accompli on his part. You know, I think that 17 minutes on something, I mean, that's more like what you should be getting with Joe Biden than Barack Obama.
Ouch.
That's not a good thing for the President.
All right, got time out on this point because there was an interesting back and forth today between the President and Rush Limbaugh. The President was on the CBS Early Show this morning, and he was asked about the tough climate and the tough rhetoric in our politics, and here's part of the President's answer.
When you listen to Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck,
it's beyond that.
It's pretty apparent, and it's troublesome. But you know, keep in mind that there have been periods in American history where this kind of vitriol comes out. It happens often when you've got an economy that is making people more anxious.
Should be no surprise. It only took a matter of hours before Rush responded. Let's listen to that.
And for Barack Obama to run around and say that this is Shaw and Beck and all of talk radio is filled with vitriol, Barack Obama sat in Jeremiah Wright's church for 20 years and never once complained about the tone of Jeremiah Wright's bigoted, anti-American, racist rants. One of my theories about President Obama is that he has been filled with anger from day one, that he has a chip on his shoulder about something.
Is there anything, Anna, for the President to be gained, even if you accept his point, as some people would, to be, you know, Rush respond, you know, Glenn Beck is going to respond. Does it help, or are we at a point now in this election year where it's all about everyone trying to gin up their base?
I don't think you should overthink it. I don't think that he was thinking when he answered that question strategically about what it would mean and how Rush would react. I think it's actually pretty funny that Rush would call him angry, because he's actually the calmest, one of the calmest face of what's been happening. If you look at the Tea Party and the protests around health care and what's been happening to members of Congress, he's actually incredibly calm, and so I actually think it's sort of ironic that he calls him angry. But I don't think the President's thinking strategically about it. I think he's making a factual point about the way the far right has been ginned up by Beck and Limbaugh and Hannity and O'Reilly. And in fact, I would say inciting violence, and certainly violence that we have seen happening to members of Congress. I don't think that he's doing anything but pointing out sort of fact.
I'm sure there are some who would, I'm sure those you just mentioned would say they're not inciting violence. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that tonight.
But had a baseball bat on his set and was whirling it around and said, somebody's going to get killed. Also said that the day after they passed health care was like 9/11. So, I mean, there is actually discussion of violence on these shows.
All right, we're going to take a quick time out here. Next in play-by-play, presidential hoops. It's not all sport, but he's on his game or maybe getting a little rusty.
Here comes the play-by-play.
Little play-by-play. It is, after all, Final Four weekend. With us, Democratic pollster Anna Greenberg and Republican strategist Liz Mair. Substance before sports. I want to play this ad. Michael Bennet is a Democratic senator. He has a primary challenge, and whoever wins the primary will have a tough year this year in Colorado. Everybody knows that people are mad at Washington. Here's a guy who actually spent some time here, went to St. Albans, grew up a little bit in Washington, but he had been out in Colorado in the school district. Now, watch the tone of this ad.
In this Washington, they spend money they don't have. In this Washington, families are looking for ways to get by. Here, the special interests have too much power. Here, people are looking for someone...
Let's stop that there. I think we get the idea. Now, you're a Republican. You want Michael Bennet to lose, but as somebody, if you were on his side, if you're on his side, is this smart, given this climate, to try to tell people, hey, look, I may work there, but I don't think like that?
I think clearly there's a sentiment that's anti-incumbent right now. Even more than that, though, I think there's a sentiment that's anti-Washington, and I think that's true whether you're looking at Democratic voters or you're looking at Republican voters. Sure, I'd absolutely be running against Washington if I were up for election this year.
And Colorado states that we're not quite sure about it. It's kind of a swing back and forth. Purple.
Right. You're going to see a lot of Democratic incumbents run against Washington.
A lot of guys who work in Washington are going to be like, whoosh. All right, so the president, I want to show you another clip. The president often talks about and laments that we live in the cycle of the permanent campaign. One election's over and we start the next one. And yet, he seemed to be thinking ahead this morning. This is a little bit of a slip when he was talking to Harry Smith of CBS over at the White House. Let's listen.
The sort of plan proposed by current Republican nominee Mitt Romney. Yeah.
We just stop that right there. He's talking about health care and how Romney's plan in Massachusetts had a mandate and the current plan has a mandate, but Republican nominee Mitt Romney, I mean...
He's revealing the potential strategy in 2012 about how we're going to talk about health care. Because, of course, Romney's health care program in Massachusetts is actually quite similar to what was passed in Congress. But it's actually quite funny that he's sort of anointing him the nominee.
He seems to think he's the nominee already. Yeah. There are a lot of other Republicans who have some primaries first.
Yeah, I think a lot of Republican voters would probably beg to differ with the assertion that this is already a done deal and that this is already settled. Certainly, I know many that would. But, I don't think it's surprising that the president is going to look to be, narrowing distinctions and sort of weakening contrast between himself and potential opponents. I mean, that's politics.
I can't take sides, but I certainly love a good contested primary. It's a lot of fun for reporters. All right, the president plays basketball, and part of the CBS deal this morning was to go out on the court. Watch the president here. He's loosening up, and that we call an air ball from three-point land. But there is redemption in politics and in sports. Look at that. All right, what do we make of this? The president not having fun. What is he trying to show here from an image point? Clark Kellogg of CBS Sports is there to shoot as well. They have the Final Four, so part of it is about that. But if you're the president and we're in tough times, pretty smart, go out and be human?
I mean, he's, some people would say he's a little bit aloof, a little bit cold, not very emotional. He doesn't emote the way, say, Bill Clinton did. I think when he does these sorts of things, he looks more human, and I mean, he is human, obviously, and more normal.
Yeah, I think it enables him to show a personal side, and I think, frankly, a lot of politicians would probably be advised to do a bit more of that, especially the ones in this town. I think sometimes they can come off as being a bit stodgy. I know, shocker, right? But, they can come off as being really stiff and not animated, not somebody that you can relate to. That's certainly not going to endear voters in a tough election cycle.
And basketball is better than golf.
I was going to say, if that's all they show, 50% from behind the three-point line, that's a pretty good thing.
Exactly.
All right. Listen, Anna, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it.